Hello and welcome back to Card Knock Life Plays. I am Corey and I will continue to test this Grixis control deck as it is my current favorite deck to play in the entire world of Magic. I've experimented with a lot of control decks, including the blue-white control, and I was just having the hardest time against the humans deck, which I'm seeing a ton of online. This one I keep coming back to because it is actually one of its strongest matchups, and I'll show you the results in a moment here. But I want to go over some of the changes I've made to the deck recently and just explain my thought process on those. The biggest thing that I've changed, and by the way, I continue to be impressed with Search for Azcanta, so that remains at 2. The biggest thing I've changed, though, is Opt. Serum Visions has been completely replaced by Opt in this deck. I've got 4 of, and it's really great in a deck that plays cards like Spell Snare to begin with, but also Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt. If I pass the turn, assuming that my opponent has a potential to play like a turn 1 creature like a Noble Hierarch or Birds of Paradise, and I have the Bolt or the Fatal Push to kill it, if they don't play it, I've got Opt. Beyond that, Opt and Snapcaster are like best friends. Snapcaster for value is much more possible when you have 8 copies of draw card instants in your graveyard, or in your deck I should say, versus 4 sorceries and 4 instants. There are many times where I feel like I need to Snapcaster as Serum Visions, but it feels wrong always because then I'm tapping out in a deck that is just loaded with instant speed reaction spells. I still have the 1 Spell Snare in the deck and the 1 Countersquall in the deck, or Countersquall, excuse me. I have changed that since I changed that when I last updated everyone on this deck, and I am still happy with it. There are very few matchups where both of them are dead. There are plenty of matchups where one of them is dead, like humans. Countersquall is pretty dead, but the deck makes up for that because though I have this 1 non-creature card that I'm not going to cast, I've got plenty of other cards that just tear that deck apart. And in many cases, both of them are live. In fact, Spell Snare is just so good right now. I will continue to advocate for this one until people start to believe me. But there are just plenty of 2-drops that I want to counter and I need to counter. I have cut Rise and Fall. That card is a trap. I was happy with it when it hymned to Toroked my opponent effectively, but plenty of times it just bricked. And then the bouncing a creature thing requires that I have a creature in my graveyard, and there are so many times where I have a target I want to bounce, I don't have a card in my graveyard to return, so I can't cast it, or the opposite is true, or my opponent's got a Snapcaster and I just don't want to return that to their hand. So I've cut that, I've switched it out for a Lightning Bolt, now I've got 3 Lightning Bolt in the deck. That gives me the chance to just go tempo if I want to turn 2 Tasigur and then close out with Bolt, Snap, Bolt type of things. So I'm excited about that prospect. And then lastly, I've got Dreadbore in the main deck still as in place of the 4th Terminate, and I am always impressed by that card. I think the flexibility to kill a Planeswalker gives me some game against Tron, it gives me some game against Affinity and other decks that are playing Liliana. I've killed Liliana plenty of times in game 1 with this, and my opponent's been totally caught off guard. So that is a total boon to this deck. I have cut Is It Staticaster from the sideboard because it was good against creature decks. I'm already good against creature decks, so I don't need that. I put By Force in. I think this is new since last time. Just general hate for artifacts that's just really effective. It helps my affinity matchup, which I have taken 2 out of 4 in the last 50 games or so. So I think that's important, but it's also just good in general against artifacts, obviously. But the impact that it has makes it worthwhile. Crack Clan Ironworks, for example, is another deck I like it against. Also, I have put in Nihil Spellbomb. I liked Surgical Extraction. I used to run 2. It turns out that it was not getting played as much as I wanted it to, and Nihil Spellbomb provides more permanent answers to decks like Storm. I've recently added this. I don't think I've even played Storm since I've got Nihil Spellbomb in the sideboard, so we'll see how that goes. But Storm and Dredge were big problems for me, and I have tried to compensate for that with now including this card in the deck. Other than that, the sideboard looks mostly the same. I'm still loving Ratchet Bomb and Engineered Explosives. The split of the 2 is really cool. I board those in against Storm, especially to kill the Goblin tokens that they try to swarm me with in game 2. And then it's just really good against the low creature decks like Merfolk and humans and stuff. The aggro creature decks, I should say. So let me share my results. Like I said, I kept track of the last 50 or so matches. I'm on to like 52 matches, it looks like, and I'm 33 and 19 with the deck, which is decently good. I've gone on streaks where I'll play a league where I go 4-1, and then the next league I go like 1-4. And so Modern is just very variable right now, and that might be due to the just the wide diversity of the format. And so what I'm really looking for in these win and loss percentages is which decks am I really strong against and which decks are appearing the most. Like Humans, for example, this is the reason I continue to play this deck. I've played it 5 times out of the last 50 matches, and I've beat it every time. I feel like it's a really good matchup for me. I love to see it. And so the good news with that is it's also the most commonly played deck that I've seen, at least, on Moto. And so when you get the leagues where you play 5 typical top-tier meta decks, Humans is bound to show up, Affinity is bound to show up, and also Storm is bound to show up. So as you can see, Storm, I've played it twice. I've lost 2 of them. I've taken 1 game in both matches. So I don't think it's a terrible matchup. Hopefully the Nihil Spellbomb will help a little bit, but that's another one that I've got to really be prepared for in this day and age in Modern. There's nothing out here that I've really got just a ton of red against. Living End I've lost twice to. That's a tough one. Again, Nihil Spellbomb helps a little bit. But I might just be okay with conceding, that Living End is just is not a good one for me, and I move on with my life because you can't really be prepared for everything. So those are the results. I'll share these in my article. Plenty of weird ones on here. Like I said, you never really know what to expect in Modern. All of these results come from queue matches or league matches, anything where there's some compensation on the line or some entry fee on the line, because I think that causes players to play a little more seriously. However, in queues, you still get people testing some kind of funky decks. Like, as you can see, I've got like Paradox Engine on here, which I happen to just get blown out by. So we will go on, and I will show you how this deck plays out. Thanks for watching.